welcome back. On today's vlog, we're going to talk about 10 things you should know if your significant other has decided to join the military. So I wrote down 10 things that I think anyone should know when their significant other, whether that be their legally married spouse or just their partner, should know when their significant other decides to join the military. So currently right now my wife is in C school. If you don't know what that is, after boot camp they go to A school, and then depending on what their job is, they will also have a C school they have to go to after that. Which means that we are very new in. She hasn't actually started her actual job yet. So with that, we get to learn new things as we keep going. And right now, I was thinking back to where I started with her in boot camp, or when she just told me that she wanted to join, and now. And I've definitely learned a lot. And I think that there's things that I wish I would have known, and so hopefully this helps somebody. Number 1, boot camp is just a phase. Now I know that sounds weird, especially if your partner hasn't even gone to boot camp yet. But trust me, there's a lot of emotions on both ends that go up and down, and it's important to remember that it is just a phase. Depending on what branch that they're going into, it is anywhere from 7 weeks to, I think, 20 weeks. So my wife is in the Navy, so for us it was 9 weeks, and even with the Navy it could be anywhere from 7 to 9 weeks. It just depends on when they go in and how many classes they have graduating at that time. So we were unlucky, and we got the 9-week train, which means for 9 weeks I was unable to see my wife at all. We were not married at the time during boot camp, which honestly has no difference unless you live together and maybe you're trying to get some extra money for housing, but we can talk about that later on another number. But being able to call you, speak with you, things like that, there's no need to like rush and get married before boot camp if it's not completely necessary. With that, when she was in boot camp, there's definitely a lot of ups and downs. So it's important to remember the first 3 weeks you won't hear from them at all. They are going through all of their initial things where they're trying to filter them through to figure out which groups they're going to belong to, if they have any special skills to go into a certain group that just does like music and band and things like that. And so for those first 3 weeks they're getting shots, they're going through their physicals, they're doing their initial like welcome to the Navy courses. So they find no reason for them to give us a call and let us know how they're doing, because it's really not that important to them in the beginning. So after 3 weeks, that's when you'll probably receive your first letter from them if they had a chance to write you up front. And a lot of times that's also when you'll get your first phone call. Now, I know a lot of people constantly stress out like, oh, I haven't heard from them, when are they going to call, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, let it go. Because it's better if you don't hear from them. Now, obviously, sometimes there's the fact where they might call like their mother or father or brother or sister first, and they'll reach out to you. And I know it hurts, but you should honestly just respect that. I said what I said. And if you don't get a call, and they haven't called anyone else yet either, that's a good sign. And that's something that no one will tell you while you're worrying, because if you get a call and it's not a scheduled call, it's because they're coming home. And that's probably not the call that they want to give you, because that's sad for them or embarrassing or whatever you call it. So be patient with your call, and I promise you it's coming. That's one of the things I wish I would have known up front, because those first 3 weeks I was just wanting a call so bad. I wanted to talk to her. I wanted to know how she was feeling and what the days were like there. And I heard other people in Facebook groups talking about they were getting calls and things like that, and it really makes you sad that your person's not getting a call. But honestly, a lot of those people were getting calls because people were getting kicked out. Maybe they didn't pass their physical, maybe emotionally, mentally they couldn't handle it as well as they thought, whatever the case may be. So yeah, patience, you'll get a call. Another thing about boot camp is letters. Letters are so important. And honestly, being able to write each other every day was one of the highlights of my day. Being able to come home and check the mail and see if I had a little something from my wife was so exciting. Something to look forward to. And my wife will tell you too, which we'll do a video later on that, of her experience there. And one of her favorite parts of the day was mail call and being able to get a letter from me. So it's really exciting, and honestly, it's so freeing for you as well. So what we did is when we were writing our letters, we used that as an opportunity to kind of just journal our feelings throughout the day. Because you have to think about it. When you're in the civilian world dating and you're really in love with someone, or you have a really nice, tight-knit connection, you're texting each other throughout the day. You're giving each other phone calls. You're talking about what happened at work, or what your friend said that upset you today, or whatever the case may be. Like maybe you had a really good day or a really shitty day and you really want to talk to your partner. Journaling it all down is so helpful, and then being able to send that and share those thoughts with your partner as well is this amazing thing that you don't even realize or know can happen until it does. So at the end of every single day, I would write to my wife and say, this is what happened today. These are my thoughts. These are my feelings. These are how I'm feeling about you. I miss you. And I think it's really important to have a good balance in your letters as well of how much you miss them, but also not making them feel bad that they're going off and leaving you and you're so depressed without them. So just make sure that you let them know you miss them, because that's just as important, but have a healthy balance where it's a good I miss you and not a make them feel bad I miss you. When you do speak with them, when you get those first few phone calls, I know that they're different. Some calls from my wife, she would be super happy, ecstatic. She did really good on an exam, a test, something, or she's really happy to talk to me. And then some calls were really depressing. Some calls were crying and just wanting to leave and hating it there. And that is literally how every single person's experience that I've talked to in other groups and other spouses, that's how it's gone. So it's gonna be hard sometimes to not talk to them for weeks at a time and then get a phone call and not know how it's gonna go. But like the number one thing I said is, boot camp is just a phase. And trust me, if you can get over these first however many weeks of no real contact at all except for letters and maybe 3 phone calls the whole time they're there, that lasts like 20 minutes, then you guys can get through it. And I know sometimes maybe they don't sound as excited to talk to you. And so there's people who can feel really insecure, like they're waiting for someone, and maybe it's not worth it because they don't even seem like they're that excited to talk to them, or whatever the case may be. But you have to remember, they have so much going on in there that's going through their minds, and they want to go home, and it's hard for them too. So to think about the fact that I know you want to hear how much they miss you the whole time they're on the phone, but really just try to focus and make it about them. Let them vent out their experience, because you are their family, and yeah, they're going to make connections there, but at the end of the day, those are probably connections that won't last as long as the people they meet when they actually start their job or go to school. So yeah, they'll maybe like vent to each other because they can relate and things like that, but at the end of the day, they're going to be more truthful with you. So you should definitely be asking how they're feeling, if they need to vent anything out, etc. It's just a phase. Number 2, buy a journal. And I'm not just saying this for letters, I'm saying it for you too. Because maybe you're having those days where you miss them really bad, or you're having all these thoughts running through your mind about if they miss you and blah, 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 and hot mess express. And having a journal helps. Write down what you're feeling. You don't necessarily have to send it to them, but maybe write their letter to them and then write one out for yourself too, because it's okay. It is okay to have a lot of feelings and ups and downs while you're going through something like this. No, it's not the end of the world. No, it's not this huge thing that could ruin your relationship, but it's still hard. And even though they're the ones going through it, it's hard for you too, being the one staying at home waiting for them, not being able to talk to them all the time and wondering what's going on. So buy a journal, write it down. And I know that we have friends and family that we can talk to, but at the same time, we also don't want to talk too much about it or feel like we're being annoying, or just give everyone our opinions all the time on how we miss our partner and how they join the military. Yes, you're going to have supportive friends and family, and yes, they want to know those things, but it's going to be running through your mind more than anybody else wants to hear. And it's not good to keep that all inside either. So having a journal to kind of express yourself, or if you vlog or blog or whatever, do it. Buy a journal. Trust me, it helps. Number 3, get your own hobby. So important. Not even just in the boot camp phase or the beginning phases, but while they're in school, while they're in the fleet, which is like when they're out there doing their job. Have your own hobby. I mean, I feel like this is important for the civilian world too. Yeah, that's shade. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be someone's sole existence for happiness. Your partner has enough stress going on in their lives, learning a new job, going through their own life, trying to make friends that they think they're actually going to keep for a lifetime, you know, actually focusing on being able to know when they get out there and have to do their job that they know how to do it. Or maybe they just started their job and so they're trying to get the hang of things and learn how it works. They don't want to also have to come home and make sure that you're happy too. Because you guys should be making each other happy, but you can't do that unless you have your own outlets as well. And so having your own hobby is so paramount. Do something, find something that takes your mind off your partner just being in the military. Hey, wife. That takes your mind off your partner just being in the military and gives you something that makes you happy on your own. Again, yes, your partner should do their best to make you happy. You are a priority, 100%. I'm not saying that you should settle for a partner who says, I had work all day, I did this all day, I don't have time. No. Absolutely not. That's not fair to you. You should be a team. What I'm saying is they shouldn't be your sole purpose for being happy. So find yourself. Find a hobby. Get excited about something. Number 4, take advantage of those benefits. Unfortunately for this part, I am just talking about legal spouses, because that's the only way you can take advantage of these benefits. And I'm not talking basic housing allowance, BAH. I'm not talking insurance and like medical care. I'm not talking anything that you think when you think military or employee benefits. No. I'm saying make use of military benefits offered to spouses and dependents. So that includes kids as well. Take advantage. There are so many resources that people don't know about that are so helpful. If you go on base, you can sit in a class where they talk to you about grants and about scholarships for college. If your partner is just now joining the military and they don't have a high rank yet, there are so many more benefits to being a dependent with them, because we can get so many loans or so many scholarships and grants just for being their spouse, because you are sacrificing something too, having to move your whole life and career and friends and family and everything you know to go be in a station where they are. So yes, you are sacrificing too. You will hear people say thank you for your service as well, because you are supporting our military by being with them and helping be that supporting, loving person you are when they're going off and doing these things. So yes, we do, as spouses and dependents, deserve these little benefits too, you know? And I didn't think that way at first, but I 100% do now. And I think it's amazing that we have these, that they are giving these to us, because they're recognizing what we can do as well. And they even work with local counties wherever you are, and spouses and dependents actually have a one-up in some of these jobs, where if you are a military spouse or dependent, you get bumped to the top of the list at places to get a job. So take advantage of that. go in to the base, to the Fleet and Family Center, or whatever it's called for your branch. There's a family center for every branch on almost every base, and there's all of these things that are given to us to go in and do. Free classes, free resume look, free building, you know. I myself went into a career class to learn about all of the benefits that I would be given to help me apply for jobs on usajobs.com, and to go and get grants and scholarships. There's so many that they give us for being spouses that you can take advantage of for little trade jobs, or even to help you get a bachelor's or an associate's. So really look into that and take advantage, because that is money that's there waiting for you to take. And it's just as important for you to accomplish your goals and have a career you love and enjoy, or, you know, something on the side for you to make yourself happy and for personal growth. So you absolutely should take advantage of that too. And even if you're in another country, there's colleges that'll talk to you in other countries. There's online schools that'll take military spouses. Like, do your research and talk to these employees on military bases, because this is what they're there for. Number 5, don't count on housing allowance. Don't do it. Is it helpful? 100%, because you don't have to worry about paying for rent. So yeah, no, 100% it's helpful. But if you come into your partnership and you both have cars, you have car insurance, you both have phone bills, you both have maybe credit card payments, you both have animals, you both have a lot of groceries that you spend, you both have student loans you're paying, or whatever the case may be. If you come into the relationship and you both have your own life of bills, and then you get married just to solely work off of their allowance and pay, it is going to be a struggle. 100%. Because in the beginning of their journey, they do not get paid that much outside of housing allowance. And you need the housing allowance to pay for your rent. So you can't bank on that to pay your other bills too. So if you're going in without a job, hoping that you can go with their pay only, it's gonna be a struggle. It's so important to find your own way to make money as well, because that puts so much stress on a relationship. Finances is one of the biggest stressors. And so to bank on just their pay when they're so new, it's not worth it. It's really not. You know, we tried it and thought we could do it, and I left my job to come and be able to live with my wife without having an actual career change to move over to, and the struggle is real. The struggle is real. So I'm a hustler. I started working retail, coming from the mortgage and finance industry, and I looked into going back to school, as I've been wanting to do, and it's still a little bit of a struggle, because we both had cars, we both had bills, we both had things to pay, and with only one of us having a job with such a low-ranking military person, it's very hard. So yeah, don't count on BAH. Please, don't listen to the hype. And not to mention, our BAH didn't even come for like the first 6 months of us being married. So yeah, that was rough. Obviously it comes faster if you were married before boot camp, so that's the one perk I was speaking about. We got married after boot camp and before school, and it took us like 5 months into being married to actually receive the first paycheck. Now yes, you do get the back pay, and if you have all that in savings, then by all means, like, use it and be happy that you get the big check of back pay when it comes. But for us, there was no big savings to be able to pay for all that up front and then be like, oh, well, we're getting it all back. No. We had to, like, hustle to make it through until that started coming. And that was rough. Number 6, hurry up and wait. Yeah, you hear it all the time. If you're watching any military videos ever, hurry up and wait is like the biggest legend of speaking. And it is so true. So in our experience, we were supposed to just be in Pensacola, Florida for 3 months and then go to Norfolk for 6. And then she was supposed to come back to Pensacola for the next 3 months after the 6 to do the second part of school and then go back to Norfolk to finish. Well, what happened is after the first 3 months, they decided to tell us that we were going to be going overseas for our first duty station. So then she had to stay here the next 3 months. So that's 6 months in Pensacola. So that's 6 months of us knowing we had to be overseas in 6 months or in 3 more months, but not knowing when, what was going to happen, the exact date. So I'm like hurrying to think of a plan, but I have to wait until they let me know, and they never do until last minute. So now it turns out that after the whole 6 months here, which is over at the end of this month, she has to go to Virginia for 2 months for a training before we go overseas. And so now I am 4.5 months out from going to Spain for 2 years, and I don't know exactly when to tell them we'll be there to start looking for housing. I don't know the exact date we fly out, if I'm flying commercial or military, so that I can plan when I'm bringing my dogs. So I'm rushing to get things done, and I'm waiting. So hurry up and wait. Hurry up and be prepared, but wait for us to tell you when. That's what that means. Number 7, get used to I don't know. And I don't just mean hearing I don't know. I mean saying I don't know. So you're gonna hear your partner say I don't know anytime you ask them a question, and then you're gonna tell them to ask somebody else, and they're gonna ask somebody else, and they're gonna say I don't know. And so pretty much everyone on the base doesn't know, and then they'll tell you they don't know, or they'll tell you the wrong information, and then somebody else will tell you something different, and then you don't know which one's right. So literally it's always I don't know. And then your friends and family and their friends and family are going to constantly ask you for updates, and your answer is always going to be I don't know. I can't tell you how many times we've asked and been asked, where are you going? When are you leaving? What's going on with your dogs? What are you doing with the cars? Well, I don't know. And it sucks. And it's not even annoying to be asked and say I don't know. It's annoying to not know. But you gotta get used to that, because that's how it's gonna be for your entire life in the military. Number 8, do your own research. As a spouse, it is so important to do your own research when you have a new military member. Now, if they've been in for a long time and you got together after that, this video can maybe help, but I don't feel like it's really for you. This is for the people who are dating someone and then they decide that they're joining the military. So that, because you're learning together at that point. So it's important to do your own research. I was the spouse that I happened to know more than my spouse and other people did when they were in boot camp. And that's followed me through to school as well. I read so many blogs. I went on Navy.mil. You know, you can go to bootcamp.navy.mil and find out so much information about boot camp. The address of where you get to send their letters to when you find out what building and unit they're in. You can find out exactly how long they'll be there, their exact graduation date. Most of that before they even know or are told, because all of that information is online for you. There are so many Facebook groups to join. There's one for boot camp, there's one for spouses, there's one for just girlfriends, there's one for moms, there's ones for every single base in the world. There's something specific for everyone. So you should join as many of those groups as that pertain to you as possible, because there's so much information in there, and you can ask or search the bar to see how many times other people have asked and gotten answers, and it's so informative. You can Google any question you want and find a blog or a vlog from someone who's answered the question for you already. So instead of stressing your partner out, asking them a million questions that they probably have no idea the answer to because they're new as well, do your own research. I have found out so many things. And when you tell them you find things out, usually it's super helpful for them and their friends who still don't even know the answer. Do your own research. Try to be as helpful as possible, and it will pay off. Number 9, A-school blues. It's a real thing. I talk about boot camp's just a phase. Well, A-school or A-school and C-school, if they have both, is definitely the blues. And that can either be because it's only for a short amount of time, so the military won't pay for you to move with your spouse. So maybe you're away from them for 3 to 6 months. I know with the Navy, if it's less than 6 months, they won't pay for spouses to move because they're going to pay for you to move to their duty station when they get stationed somewhere. So that can be really hard on you guys. The good thing is it's better than boot camp because at least you have FaceTime and phone calls frequently. But that can be really hard. Also, it's really hard on your partner. And I will have my wife do a video on this as well. I'll have her do one on her experience in boot camp and one on her experience in school. And it's very hard on them because it's kind of like boot camp where they still are being told what to do and have to ask permission to do things, but with a little more freedom because they can actually leave base after the first couple weeks. So it's just a little annoying because it's not like a normal school where they can kind of come and go as they please or like not show up if they don't feel like it or whatever. And they're also still being treated like children. So I don't think I've said this, but I turned 28 this month and my wife is 30. And so being older and joining the military for the first time at this age is like a whole nother world. So it can definitely cause some blues or some sadness and depression when you're kind of still being treated like an 18-year-old, because a lot of people in there are, and that's not a bad thing. You know, I feel like it does teach you a lot of skills and growth, and whether my wife wants to admit it or not, she's definitely learned some things. Hi, baby. She's definitely learned some things and had some growth, and I feel like that's great. Thank you, babies. When they join, they can have this idea of what it's going to be like and how it's going to be like this new job, and then you're still in school and you're still being treated like, you know, nothing, like a kid, like in boot camp. And so that can be really hard and not what they imagined. And obviously we're not in the fleet yet. It's still new to us too. The blues are almost over though, because we're leaving here in 3 weeks. Everything we've been told from other people is that once they actually get on the fleet with doing their job, things are so much different, and it's like a real job. A lot of people have like 9 to 5s unless they're on the boat, but then when they're not actually shipped out somewhere, it's still like a normal job. So apparently that gets better, and everybody says to just remind your partner that, you know, this is only temporary and it's almost over. But there is blues, and that can be really hard on a lot of relationships, whether you decided to move with them out of pocket anyway, like I did, or whether you decide to stay home, because every single day is still going to be a challenge. I mean, just think about the civilian world and relationships, and when someone has a hard day at work, they come home and they tend to take it home with them sometimes, and that can be hard. And especially if you're working too, and you guys both have a bad day and have to come home. So it's just important to remember that. It's just even on a higher balance because they think that they're coming into something and it's completely not what's expected. And number 10, my favorite one, explore. And so obviously we're not anywhere super exciting right now. We're in Pensacola, Florida, the armpit of Florida.
I said what I said.
And you know, it's definitely interesting. There are some cool things to do here, like there's this gallery night that's once a month on Fridays. There's farmers markets on Saturdays, but a lot of things are closed on Sundays and Mondays for some reason. I don't know, but it's important to not just sit around at home all day, even as a couple. I mean, when they're in school and stuff and that's all they're thinking about, it's just important for you both to get out of the house. And even if you're not somewhere fun, there's always places nearby that you can take day trips to, or do something. I mean, take advantage of your time being somewhere, even if it's not somewhere that sounds crazy fun and exciting. Like, we are just a couple hours from New Orleans, Louisiana. We are just
off limits.
We are just an hour and a half from Mobile, Alabama, which is really interesting, has so much history, so much fun. We took a day trip there as well. If you look at my Instagram, shameless plug, you can see some photos and stuff of us there, and it was so much fun. We are just a couple hours from Panama City. We're just a couple hours from Navarre. Like, there are so many other places that you can just take a day trip to. If it's a 1 to 3 hour trip, get up early, make a trip, explore. You know, there's no excuse to just sit around all day and be sad. And it's just really important to remember that. So go explore. People do get really stuck in the military life and just staying at home. And especially if you don't have a job yourself, you can get really stuck with making your life revolve around your partner and not taking the opportunity to go explore together and have fun and not just focus on their career in the military. There's so much more to what's around than just military. Even if you're in a military town, then get out of it and go do something. There's no excuse. And along with those Facebook support groups, there are constantly spouses getting together and having spouse meetups and wives days and girlfriends days and whatever the case is, that go out and do activities or do happy hours or paint nights or movie nights or whatever. Make friends. Find your own little happiness, because everyone is so tight-knit, and you can find different spouses in the groups that share your same interests that you can vibe with. So go out, explore, meet friends, you know, make the best of your situation, even if it's not feeling that great in the moment. So those are my 10 tips for new spouses. I hope they were helpful. If you have any particular questions for me, like different vlogs I looked at or websites or anything about boot camp or A schools, if your spouse is coming to Pensacola, feel free to comment me or message me on Instagram. I can give you any advice I have. I can tell you all the classes and stuff I took. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm your favorite. I'm the favorite.